Good morning, friends. I'm Pastor Ben Hayes from First Baptist Church, Dadeville, Alabama, bringing you our thought for the day on this Monday morning. And I hope that you are having a fantastic day so far. I pray that the rest of your day would be just as great and that you would see the hand of God working in your life as you watch all of the things that go on around you. Look at the circumstances and see what God is trying to teach you, what God is trying to say to you. And this morning, even though it's raining and dreary here in Dadeville, just know that God has something great in store for you today. Uh, I was thinking this week, we've been finished up our journey through the book of Proverbs last week as we've been talking about the wise sayings of King Solomon and how we could glean so much from the truths and the principles that he shares with us. And it seems like as we read through the book of Proverbs, for the most part, King Solomon is a very optimistic, positive kind of fellow. He does tell us things that we shouldn't do, and he gives us truth that is meaningful to our hearts. But I got a friend, and he always says, I'm not a pessimist, I'm a realist. And you kind of get the idea of what he's trying to say, don't you? Well, I think that's what King Solomon is. He's not a pessimist, he's not an optimist, he's a realist. But as he grew older, he moved away from God. You remember the story? He married so many women and from foreign lands, and he began to incorporate their worship practices into his own worship practices. Because of that, the kingdom was torn away from him. Uh, but I think also in those that journey away from God, he became less optimistic and more pessimistic, and that's where we get the book of Ecclesiastes that follows right on the heels of the book of Proverbs. Listen to what he says, how he says it in verse 2 of chapter 1. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Now, that word vanity means futility, foolishness, nonsense, nothingness. And what he's saying here is in life, there's just no purpose. There's just no fulfillment. There's nothing. It's just nonsense. And then he goes on. He says, "What profit has a man from all his labor, in which he toils under the sun? One generation passes away, and another generation comes, but the earth abides forever." And he just continues with this line of reasoning and thinking about we live our lives, we do the things that we do, and nothing ever changes. It's all the same. We pass from one generation to the other. They have the same issues. They have to work until they die, and it's just the same thing over and over again. But you look at the world, and that's the picture: the earth, the physical world. The wind blows from one direction, it turns around and it goes the other. The rivers flow into the sea, but the seas are never filled. And then the water just returns back to the river. And look at what he says. He says in verse 8, all things are full of labor. Man cannot express it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. In other words, no matter what we go through, no matter what we see, no matter what we experience, we're just never fulfilled. Our lives are never filled with meaning and purpose. And that's a sad thought to have, especially for a man as wise as Solomon, a man who had everything that Solomon had. But sometimes what happens is that when you get everything that you ever want in life, you begin to take things for granted. And all of a sudden, they don't mean as much to you anymore. The same is true in our spiritual life, especially as we move away from our understanding of who God is and our love for God and listening to the voice of God as He speaks to our hearts. We begin to look in all of the wrong places, trying to find fulfillment. That's the problem in the book of Ecclesiastes. He's looking for fulfillment in so many places that are wrong that he's never going to experience it, that this optimist becomes pessimist. And that's our problem today. Now, I'm not saying that you should be Pollyannish, that everything is pie in the sky and that you just look at everything and say, oh, okay, sirrah, whatever will be. None of those philosophies fit what the Christian life is all about. What the Christian life says is look to God. Look to Him for your fulfillment. Look to Him for your joy. Look to Him for your peace. Look to Him for your comfort. Look to Him for your healing, whatever it might be, whatever you need. Look to Him, and He will give you not only that sense of peace, not only that sense of joy, not only that feeling of love and purpose, but He will meet your every need and give you a sense of excitement about what He's going to do for you tomorrow. Oh, listen, I hope that you'll look to the Father for your joy and your fulfillment and not do like King Solomon did. Don't become the realist or the pessimist, but always know that God has a plan and a purpose for your life. God bless. I hope that you have a great day today, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.